Welcome back to Dan's Audio Reviews. It's been a weird couple of weeks. I've been on and off my feelings for making another video. I tried making commentary and it was so late at night and I wasn't burned out totally, but I was kind of being temporarily overwhelmed by how much work I was putting in late at night with so much else going on. And just, you know what, all I want to say is thank you for being here. Thank you so much. The 5,000 subscriber mark was just passed, and I couldn't be more grateful to all of you. Now, all that preface aside, let's get started. What do you think, first of all, of the Olina? What do you think of it compared to the Leia, now fixed? And what do you think of it compared to the Blessing 2 Dusk? I can tell you that so far, when you put all of those against the Obsidian, I still prefer the Obsidian, the OH10 by Ikko. But why give you all this stuff when I already tell you off the bat that I prefer this one that's not even the highlight of the video? Well, because this is a redemption video. This is a chance for all of those things that have not been given their full chance to be shown off. The Olina, I didn't show it with the mod, which everybody was asking to be shown, which you're going to hear more of momentarily. The Leia had the polarity switch. What happened was in my previous video where the Leia was supposed to be highlighted or featured, I plugged in the cable backwards. Oops. So I'm putting it back in this video for you. And then finally, the Blessing 2 Dusk. Now that one had a pretty fair-ish shot in a way past video, but unfortunately my technique for sealing the IEMs into my recording rig was not as foolproof as it is now. My methodology has just become more and more consistent. So I really needed to put the Blessing 2 Dusk back in. When people first heard it videos ago, it was nasally sounding, almost too thin, and it sounded off the mark of what it sounded like in real life. And I felt bad, even though I don't like the Blessing 2 like much at all. I felt bad that people were taking away from the demo before that it was something that it wasn't. That just wasn't fair to it, not at all. So in today's video, what did you hear? The Blessing 2, let me guess. It sounded pretty flat and boring compared to what else you could pop into your ears, yeah? Because that's how it came off to me. The Leia sounded pretty interesting, pretty colorful, if you will, in the tuning. It played a little more risks with this or that area. I'm not going to get into specifically which parts of the graph I would venture to guess is responsible. But, just listen to it with your own ears. It sounds more colorful. It sounds like it has more excitement. The Olina was probably my overall favorite between those, just overall with its tonality. It was the most well-balanced while still maintaining some sense of fun, in my personal opinion. And the OH10 Obsidian was just my preference above all of them. But so why include the Obsidian? Well, I think it's healthy to have some frame of reference, to have a gauge, if you will, for how these other earphones are coming off. Okay, so that was a nostalgic old hit. Now let's go to let's go to some jazz and see how the instruments in a typical jazz ensemble might sound. I don't know if you could call it an ensemble, but whatever, the trio. Let's try it again. So, oh, and I just forgot to mention how crazy my hair is. I'm going for something like a mad scientist, or I don't know. I think I'm getting inspiration from my favorite eccentric characters in fiction and real life, like Richard Feynman, Einstein, I don't know, the 12th Doctor in Doctor Who or something. Or I think long hair is my nap. Why am I talking about hair? All right. So, anyway. I really can't tell a difference in demo playback, at least, with the Olena modded and the Olena original. Now, the difference between the Olena with the mod, as it says on screen, is just this thing where people are putting an extra set of filters, which have an adhesive on the back of them, these tiny little circular filters that already come on the nozzle, and they just stick an extra one on top of the existing one. So it's basically double filtering is all it is. This was suggested to me from several people who tried it, including Michael Bruce himself, who was one of the people who had a hand in giving input or feedback on the tuning of the Olena in the first place. Michael Bruce, from what I gathered, from what he told me in an email, I don't want to misquote him, but I heard somewhere somebody thought it's supposed to take away the harshness in the upper end, or make it a little less thin sounding in certain areas, or something like that. And honestly, I don't hear the difference on a demo. Now, a demo is different than real ears. I can't stress that enough, okay? So it could be that there's some kind of unwanted resonance, perhaps, making its way through the human ear canal, that somehow people are picking something up that the demo doesn't. Okay, I'm not going to rule it out. However, the methodology, if you will, for how people are comparing the Olena naturally with the mod, with the extra filter added on top, is probably going to be a little poor. I mean, if you look at it from like a scientific point of view. Because think about it. In order to test the two side by side, unless the person owns two sets of Olena, which, let's be honest, how many of you have that? Maybe Michael Bruce does, okay? Think about it. If you only use one set of Olena, what are you going to have to do? You're going to listen to it with the base, stock defaults, one nozzle, one filter. You're going to listen to it. You're going to take off at the tip. You're going to add from this little piece of plastic a little filter. Carefully put it on top. Take the time to do it so you don't miss and there's like a leak somewhere that the filter's not covering. So you do it exactly right. Okay, then you take the tip on your desk, you put it on, then you put it back in your ear, and then you try to see, oh, there's a difference. Confirmation bias is what it's called. And whenever you look at an experiment and you look for areas where certain kinds of biases or errors could take place, you have to take that into account. And this is one of those situations that unless you're listening to two that are immediately prepared with the tips already set, with the nozzle differences, one with one filter, one with two filters, ready to go, plugged into their own separate devices so the switches can be very quick. Or you could even press play on both devices, and you could even have one in each ear, although that may be a little weird. You might have two. Okay, put it down. Put it down. Put it down. Unless you're being that meticulous about it, I would be very hard pressed to believe at this point that what people are hearing is really happening. Maybe I'm just a fool. Maybe my auditory memory of what I listen to is not good as much as other people. I don't know. But so far, my take on the Olena with the extra filter is that I don't hear a difference in the demo, and I couldn't hear a difference when I tried after meticulously putting on the filter and putting the tip back on and then trying it again with my own ears. I couldn't hear a difference with my own ears either. But somebody with more experience and a finer palate for what they're listening for might hear what I don't. I don't know if it's significant. I just don't know, okay? I'm not saying it's not there. There's a lot of mistakes that I could be making too. I just don't know if it's there for sure, okay? All right, we're gonna keep listening. I'd rather be no other place. Let's listen to some electronic on a track that is so annoying to me on most days because of those harsh synthetic digitized sounds that it plays. But I play it anyway because it's a harshness test. Let's see what is the most least harsh of the bunch.
See your face in the crowd, but you don't seem so far away. The only thing between us is empty space, empty space. And even when the music is loud, I'd rather be no other place than here with you now, here with you now. See your face in the crowd, but you don't seem so far away. The only thing between us is empty space, empty space. Even when the music is loud, I'd rather be no other place. Here with you now, here with you now.
Rather be no other place than here with you now. You know, that song really is so beautiful when it doesn't annoy me. Because it can, wow, it's so harsh and overwhelming on those crashing sounds. It's just, but today was a good day. For some reason. And maybe it helps to stand further away from your device. Maybe IEMs are just too harsh in general for these. I've noticed, even on my most favorite sets ever, from expensive to cheap, it's really difficult to tolerate really harsh stuff on IEMs sometimes, like electronic. At least for me. I don't know about you guys. Maybe this is where headphones could be, maybe this is where headphones could have an upper hand. A little more distance from the ears, a little more diffused into space. Not shoved against your eardrum. I don't know. But in any case, that track was interesting. I think this really showed where things were less refined than others. Specifically, that Leia sounded pretty nice and colorful in its tuning. Nice and interesting, right? flavorful, if you will. But it sounds pretty unrefined. You know what I mean? It didn't sound polished. The notes hit with unwanted resonance or something, right? If that's the right thing that I'm describing, resonance, you know, something's vibrating, not as quick. Like maybe the drivers aren't as fast and they're not able to resolve the details quickly enough. But something is going on when you get to that really cheap stuff, where even if they tune it to sound really delicious, when it gets to busier stuff, most budget stuff I've noticed kind of stinks. And, you know, I really feel like I'm kind of done with budget stuff because of stuff like that. The Leia I can't honestly recommend the Leia to anyone willing to spend $50 to $100. If you're just spend $25 more and get the Melee. My goodness, people, what are you doing with your hobby? Who's watching all of these videos just to buy a $25 piece of gear? That sounds horrible. Enough. But please. Okay? I mean, it sounds good-ish, okay? I say like it sounds horrible, but the Leia actually sounds really good for the budget. But that's not saying much when you're still talking about crud, okay? When it comes to refining, resolving those notes in busy sections, you want something to give you joy. Come on, don't do this to yourselves. Stop it. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so the Olina versus Olena modded was interesting because I think maybe if you twisted my arm, despite all of my talk about biases and potential errors in methodology and whatever, it is possible that the modded version is sounding just maybe ever so slightly less harsh in some areas, but the difference would have to be so small. It could be subject to the fact that like when I edit the tracks, when I play things, they're not playing the same section. So when you move from one verse to the next, it could be that the instrumentation is slightly less harsh, and it's not the difference in the mod. I don't think that's what's happening. I actually think that the switches are fine, but I'm just putting that out there. It could be that I'm still going into it with the same bias that I'm warning you about, that my brain is primed to look for it. Maybe, heck, I colored the screen gray when the modded one comes out. Maybe the visual of seeing the gray on the screen further primes us to want to hear a grayed version of things. Maybe it's messing with us, just the fact that I added a filter on the screen. You know, there's so much room for error. Let's not put all of our weight into the fact that we think we heard it, okay? Because let's be real. The modded version is not significantly different, if it's different at all, than the base version without the filter. So if you're thinking, I'm gonna buy the Olina and mod it because that's gonna really make it my own favorite thing ever, I just don't hear it. I just don't. I don't see how that's going to make or break your decision to get the Olina versus something else. Get the Olina, in my opinion, get the Olina because you want the stock sound, and on maybe the off chance the filter could help, but you gotta love the original sound, at least in some way, to buy it at all. That's my take. We still got the Blessing 2 and the Obsidian to talk about. The Obsidian, interestingly, sounded to me just ever so slightly less enjoyable than the Olina there. Even though the Obsidian, the OH10, popped out with its own timbre that was different than the Olina, it really did voice the instruments differently. It was a different flavor than the Olina. I wouldn't say that the extra pop of excitement on the Obsidian was better. I actually thought that the more mellowed out, you could even say smoother timbre of the Olina was just a little bit more pleasing, at least on a really intense electronic track like the one we just heard. I think it would be more, and this is true with my own ears too, it's not just in the demo. I have to emphasize that every time as people forget. My commentary is based on my actual experience, not on the demo. The demo is just a reference point for me to quickly recall what I had in my own ears before I ran these tests on the computer. The Olena does. When I first listened to the Olena, I thought that. They sounded smooth to me compared to where I was coming from. I was coming from my favorite stuff like the Mist, which is super bright and thin comparatively. I was coming from the OH10, from the Timeless, and these things have a super crisp upper end. Okay, and that crispness, though wonderful in many genres and tracks, can suffer in tracks that are extremely busy or harsh, like electronic, we just heard. And this is actually where the Olena and other sets that are smoother than those, a little warmer even, can get the upper hand. I still wouldn't rank the Olena above the OH10 for my taste. I would still take the Olena's occasional harshness over the Olena's more smooth playback and general listening because I am a sucker for bright and exciting and punchy. Okay, I like things to play risks and not do everything masterfully, but at least most things really well and fun. Okay, I'm a V-shaped person, perhaps. Criticize me if you want, but I kind of think V-shaped has a bad rap that it does not deserve. I'll maybe be the first audiophile to say that, perhaps, openly. Okay, the Blessing 2, I just don't even care about mentioning it because it's too flat. It's like we're not learning anything new from the Blessing 2 Dusk. It's always going to be this kind of like, I will play your music flat and proper, and you're like, okay, let's listen to music now. And I'm just like, that's how I feel about it. I like I push up the bass, push up the treble. Ha, fun punch, fun, clear, airy sound. I'm sorry, that's me. Let's go on to, sorry, I couldn't help myself. Electronic would be good to listen to again, but let's actually listen to something else because I think we have enough on that. Yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Let's do this.
I drive on the streets 'cause she's my companion. I walk through the hills 'cause she knows who I am. She sees my good deeds and she kisses me when and I never worry, now that is a lie. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love, take me all the way. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love, take me all the way.
All right, this is where, I added some posters while things were playing. I just felt like now's the time to put up these posters I've been saving for a long time. A lot of glare on that one, unfortunately. Anyway, so with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I've noticed that it's harder to tell differences when it's just the male vocalist with a simple guitar plucking behind him. Even so, when you get to certain other sections that are a little bit busier, or if you just listen carefully enough, you can hear the differences that you hear pretty much every time on every other track we've heard and will hear. The core character of any of these IEMs seems to be persistent between genres and tracks. So I don't really know what else to say about this track. I don't want to go too much into detail. I kind of feel like just keep playing more and seeing what we think as our opinions develop. I'm sure I could probably spend more time with that particular track and try to pinpoint specific differences, but I'm going to leave that one to you guys to think about. Anyway, let's move on. This is another kind of, we just listened to male vocals with not much else going on, not extremely busy. Now let's listen to female vocals on a fairly simple track. So we can just see if we can hear a difference with how the female voice comes off, with a little bit of guitar plucking in the background, a little bit of acoustics. All right, let's listen in.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tells a hole, the old familiar sting. Try to kill it all away, but I remember everything. What have I become? My sweetest friend. Everyone I know goes away in the end, and you could have it all. My empire of dirt, I will let you down. I will make you hurt. I wear this crown of thorns upon my liar's chair, full of broken thoughts I cannot repair. Beneath the stains of time, the feelings disappear. You are someone else. I am still right here. One and you could have it all. My empire of dirt, I will let you down. I will make you hurt. If I could start again, a million miles away, I will keep myself. I would find a way.
You can tell I've been in here a while when I don't wear my second layer or fleece, because these lights get warm. Even though they're LEDs, any light gets warm. And it adds up when you're in a shoebox of an office. It just, oh, and that thing, the culprit right there, incandescence. Anyway, so that was pretty nice, especially with the Obsidian, I thought. And the Olina. The Olina and the Obsidian were both the most beautiful sounding for female vocals in this comparison round. The Blessing to Dusk was just kind of, it sapped the most soul from her. And I was just kind of bereft. I was bereft of soul, of emotion when it switched to the Dusk. I didn't like it. It was smooth, but at the cost of excitement and reverb or something that is floating around her voice that gives it that ethereal quality that you know when you hear it, kind of thing. You know what I mean. You know, when something comes on that plays female vocals beautifully, it's because it sounds brighter. It sounds like the female vocal is lifted to highlight the feminine. And the Olina and Obsidian both did that. Even the Leia did it better than what I liked from the Dusk. The Leia at $25, at what, less than 1/10 or 1/12, whatever, 1/13th, math. 1/13th the cost of the Dusk. And I would listen to the Leia with female vocal and acoustic tracks any day more than the Dusk. If you are somebody who knows you're only going to or predominantly listening to female vocals or acoustics, very light, less busy. That's the difference. Less busy versus busy, okay? The Leia on anything that is less busy is beautiful. Generally speaking, that's what I'm actually getting, okay, across genres. But as it gets busier, it gets less, it gets, you hear the drivers or something is struggling inside of those. But on this track, the Leia sounded pretty nice. I still prefer the Obsidian or OH10 and the Olina over the Leia. But what do you think? I think that the Olina is arguably comparable to, in terms of enjoyment value, to the Obsidian here, but I think in my own ears, the Obsidian still sounds just an edge over it, okay? I still think I prefer it. It just sounds a little more fuller on the low end, which I know female vocals don't really need a low end boost to sound good. I mean, it's female vocals. They live up in the upper mid somewhere, you know what I mean? And treble, they dance with the treble a little bit, depending on the octave they're in. The Obsidian has nice treble and that bass boost that gives it this kind of well-roundedness. It's the V-shape. The V-shape actually works. When it's done tastefully, it works. And that's where I am right now. I think I still prefer the Obsidian. But let's keep going. I think the Olina is still a fantastic buy. If you're into it, go for it. I don't think you're making a bad buying decision at all. It holds up very, very well. So let's just go to a track that loops the same section. I've been doing this more and more, looping the same section of a track over and over. And let's just really nail down if the Olina sounds different than the Olina with a mod, with an extra filter. And for, some reference points, let's add in all the others that we've listened to just to compare and contrast. So everything I've said in the past is holding for this track too. Everything. I prefer the Obsidian the most. It just pops. I keep using these phrases that, you know, if you saw it typed on a forum, you'd be like, who are these audiophiles saying things with such wishy-washy abstract language? Like, be specific. This is why we have graphs. This is why we have objective, you know, values to compare what we're saying, to communicate what we're thinking better. And you know what? That's the beautiful thing about me being able to share a demo, is because you hear at least some semblance of what I'm hearing. And so if I say that the Obsidian just pops, you know what I mean, because you heard that sense. You heard the feeling you get when you hear whatever it's doing on the graphs, whether it's the treble is elevated in certain places to give a sense of air somewhere, or it's the bass is elevated somewhere, I don't know which hertz, but somewhere to give it a impact on the low end, or it's the mid somewhere. Maybe it's dropping off well or something, so there's no bloom. Whatever it is, the whole feeling as a human being that you get when you hear that composition come together is a feeling of things are popping. It's like looking at a painting that's composed of all the brushstrokes. And yes, you can sit here and you can analyze things according to each brushstroke. You can talk about exactly which colors are used in which part of the frame in the painting. And you can certainly have that discussion, and I am no way knocking having that discussion. But I just think it's interesting that we can talk about our abstract feelings that are abstracted from something we are experiencing together right now, okay? That's unique here. I think we have something here. I think there's something special. I don't know. Anyway, let's continue on to the last track of the day. What is it? What am I playing? I've been doing this a lot too. We're gonna, you're not supposed to see which is which. We're going to play a blind test to see if you prefer one over the other without knowing which is which. I'm very interested to see in the comments which one you prefer the most and what you guess based on your past experiences, what you've heard before, which one you think is what. All right, I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to have no more commentary after this track. It's just going to say thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe, okay? Like, subscribe, comment, so go to my Patreon, go to my garage sale, follow me on no social media because I have no social media. Enjoy the blind test. I hope you've had a wonderful time listening to the video. See you on the next one.
Don't go changing to try and please me. You never let me down before. Don't imagine you're too familiar, and I don't see you anymore. I would not leave you in times of trouble. We never could have come this far. I took the good times, I'll take the bad times. I take you just the way you are. Don't go trying some new fashion. Don't change the color of your hair. You always have my unspoken passion. Although I might not seem to care, I don't want clever conversation. Never want to work that hard. I just want someone that I can talk to. I want you just the way you are. Need to know that you will always be the same old someone that I knew. Oh, what will it take till you believe in me the way that I believe in you? I said I love you, that's forever. This I promise from the heart. I couldn't love you any better. I love you just the way you are. I never want to work that hard. I just want someone that I can talk to. I want you just the way you are.